It's Abu Kar. Hey Frankie, I'm running a campaign for a travel company, specifically a lead gen, but would love to know your experience. What objective is best for this industry? I know for certain niches like restaurants, messenger campaigns, kills it. Is it the same way with travel? Sorry, just seeing this. Thoughts? No one responded. So the company is a travel agency in the state that do safari tours to certain points of Africa. But this specific offer is a tour package to travel to Africa around December. December is when a lot of the black folks travel down to the motherland for parties, festivals, and concerts. Package is $2K. We're getting leads with a Facebook lead gen campaign, but no sales. Jacob says, we have been doing free trials, but when is a good time to switch to running a client getting Facebook campaign on no trials, just paid clients? Was thinking of doing a guarantee, but not sure. Our man Kath says, what would be a good first aid offer for a plastic surgeon? Check this out, folks. I don't even know if we're live. I click the button. I never know. But I'll tell you, those of you guys who are parents, I understand why you have a bunch of terrible art on your fridge. And this is my 4-year-old made it for me. Daddy, I made this because I love you. This is like, to me, just like winning at life right here. This baby. So anyways, welcome back, everybody, to another fine episode of the weekly Q&A. You guys are kicking butt, taking names, and we've been working on some really, really cool stuff. I'm excited to share with you guys. Like, I've been in a dark room building tools and swipe files things so that essentially that you guys can, with a few clicks of a button, adapt some of our methodologies using AI to be able to like literally create cash, which I think is the ultimate skill. When you can create cash and opportunities endlessly, like the flip side of that is now you have opportunity overwhelm, but that's a better problem than what a lot of people struggle with. And this comes up, by the way, even when you got like an 8-figure agency, there's times where you get in cash flow crunches and you need to create it. So I want to create tools and systems, or I should say I want to, we already are, creating tools and systems for you guys to be able to, like, as close to humanly possible as click a button and create cash. I don't think that was as easy for some of our stuff as it was before, but now that we have the advent of using AI to be able to personalize it to you and your specific needs. So we're starting with like proven campaigns, but like a lot of times you need to modify them because, you know, it's different if you're talking to this kind of client or you're offering them this, or you have this relationship, and we can personalize all those details. So I'm excited for that. Anyway, let's get into the good stuff. That's enough rambling for me, other than to say we're working on some cool shit for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. Pure shenanigans, week after week after week. Here we are, talking agency stuff. You guys got some good questions this week. I hope I'm saying your name right. This is probably, though, if this is your name, just so you know, like, I'm probably not the first guy to mispronounce it. It's Abu Kar. Hey Frankie, I'm running a campaign for a travel company, specifically a lead gen, but would love to know your experience. What objective is best for this industry? I know for certain niches like restaurants, messenger campaigns, kills it. Is it the same way with travel? Sorry, just seeing this. Thoughts? No one responded. So the company is a travel agency in the state that do safari tours to certain points of Africa. But this specific offer is a tour package to travel to Africa around December. December is when a lot of the black folks travel down to the motherland for parties, festivals, and concerts. Package is $2K. We're getting leads with a Facebook lead gen campaign, but no sales. Okay, so I'll give you a big secret. Everybody thinks that you need to generate leads, and if you know how to convert leads, you never have a lead problem again for the rest of your life, right? Because all you got to do to generate leads ever in history is turn on the paid ad traffic platform, whether that's Facebook or YouTube or Google, whatever, right? Like, once you have conversion in place, you can pay for ads, and those ads will pay for themselves over and over. So I say that to you because most people think about, like, how do I generate leads and things like that, and you really have a conversion problem. And I'll tell you just like just where my head goes to. So there's a couple of things that it sounds like you're running Facebook ads. So the first thing is, I think one of the most important pieces, just so you know, everything in advertising matters, but there are some things that matter a lot more than others. And I tend to focus on the very, very major things that really move the needle, not green button versus yellow button. Like, if you change the button from green to yellow, it'll make a difference. But is it really going to make like a giant hill of beans a difference? Probably not. What's up, my man Raul's here, Miami's finest. So anyways, when it comes to doing that, the first thing is I would make sure I would find some behavioral way to target people who have a history of buying the kinds of things that you sell. So like everybody knows this, like I got family members and I know friends. I got friends who've like literally never left their state their entire lives. Like you're talking people who are like 35, 40 years old, never even went like ventured one state over, if you can believe that. Well, if you try and sell somebody an African tour package who's never left their state, like you're shit out of luck before you even begin. So you want to target people who have a proven history of buying things like safaris and taking trips to Africa. So I might target some of the other like similar competitor kind of offers if you can put those in as targeting options. I don't know until you play around the system, but that's key to me is make sure you're showing ads to people who actually buy that kind of thing. Second thing is you got to come up with a really cool offer. It sounds like you guys got a cool tour package, but I would think about like help them enhance that some way. That sometimes you take something really cool and you enhance it with bonuses, it just gets even cooler. So like, hey, if you come on our tour, we'll make you like a video compilation of your event. Like that's cooler than if you didn't get the video compilation. Or like I do this a lot on our in-person masterminds. If you come to it, you get bonuses of like courses and trainings and additional calls and things like that after you've already left the event, right? So how can you enhance that offer? They've got an offer, and chances are because it's your client, you probably can't really modify that offer, but you can probably find some cool ways to add on to it. And by the way, you don't have to add on to it just with your stuff. You can negotiate to them. Like you can negotiate with an airline and say like, hey, we want to send a bunch of people to our thing, and we'd love to recommend you as our recommended airline. Is there any way we could do some kind of kickback? Maybe they would give you a kickback. I don't know. You never know until you ask, by the way. And so like I just think about like what else goes with it, and like again, enhance that offer. Like you could include a Starbucks gift card and it would make it better, right? So I don't know what those things are, but like play with that offer and make it the best offer you can make. Now the third thing I think of is, since you're selling an experience, proof. I'm not shooting you the middle finger. I'm just harping on point number 3. Proof. And proof for you is just showing people having a good time, right? Like whether that's pictures or videos, like the more you can show, like I would probably have one awesome video that just shows like 20 people in a row having a really fucking awesome good time on this travel package. You're going to find it a lot easier to sell once you have that video. In fact, I actually experienced this firsthand. So the very first mastermind I sold in Mexico was kind of hard because I didn't have any like proof of concept. Nobody had ever come on it, like shed a little tear for the marketer problem. And so I had to do more to sell the thing. But then eventually people came, and shout out to Ryan Davies, created an awesome video documenting the event and got like, you know, everybody's kind of feedback and experience testimonials, if you will. And then once I had the video, like it was 100 times easier to sell the exact same event, because now people say, well, what is this event like? And I just go watch the video and they go, oh, that's cool, I want to come, right? So chances are you have a bunch of people having cool experiences, so like show them that, right? And then the fourth piece is it's hard to go from I never heard of you before on Facebook ads to I'm booking a $2,000 retreat. I'm not saying it can't be done, but chances are, like, you're going to get most of the people in the retargeting. So I would think about, like, if you have, like, just take their best stuff. If they got 10 testimonials, or they got, examples of trips or Google reviews or whatever, and, like, I would turn all of that into ads so that anybody who watches a certain percentage of your video, like, I would retarget them 10, 20, 30 times. In fact, one thing that I do that's different than everybody else, because I'm a bigger believer in campaigns, by the way, the difference between a campaign and a one-off is we'll try one ad and see what happens. A campaign is we'll systematically follow up with that prospect until they buy 10, 12, 30, 40, 50 times, whatever it takes. Is knowing that, I'll tell you, I probably have the most obnoxious retargeting sequences in the industry. And those of you guys who are on my retargeting audiences can confirm what I say, because you see a lot of my shit on Google display and YouTube ads, and sometimes on Facebook ads and shit like that. Our man Cole says, come to a Frankie event, get bonus Python flex. That's right, baby. The 14-inch gun's gonna take you to Pound Town. Anyways, so I say that, like, that's the model for selling events. Target people who buy events. Sounds like really basic and simple. Come up with a winning offer, and chances are, like, how can you enhance the offer they've already got? Just think about making it cooler. If you're not sure, like go Google other people who went for like similar kind of events and look at what was their favorite part and then figure out how you can incorporate that. Maybe it's like take your picture next to an elephant, which may already be included anyway, right? But you're not highlighting that detail, right? Like so I literally just go to Google and I type Reddit and I go favorite part of African safari and I start reading answers and see what people liked. Again, this is more about parroting, and then proof that like they're gonna have a good fucking time going to your thing, and then like don't think about this as how can I get a lead and then try and sell them. Think about how can I have the best campaign on the face of the earth, and you'll just convert a lot more people. A lot of like you guys will notice that a lot of the Facebook ads that have worked on you over the years, the ones that made you buy whatever it is they made you buy, almost always it wasn't like, hey, I just saw their ad, clicked it first time, and bought the shit. That does happen sometimes, but usually that's for like shit for less than $100. The $2,000, $10,000 things almost always have like some kind of campaign, some kind of nurture built into it, and so like after somebody behaviorally displays interest, maybe they watch the video, 25% or whatever it is on Facebook, like retarget the ever living fuck out of them. Till the end of time, by the way. Never stop doing that. Retargeting ads are so cheap that like I think that's, to me at least, where so much of the magic is in. Anyways, our man Basil, this is a two-parter. He says, here's one for the Monday's Q&A. So following your advice, Frankie Fihn had submitted some articles to various industry publications. One magazine in particular that has 90,000 subscriber lists, I gave her a rough draft that had a few insights in it. She said, this particular point X seems very interesting. Please submit a 600 to 700 word article expanding on that. Wrote said article, sent it in, then crickets. So far, followed up with her over 5 emails and left her a voicemails. Also sent emails to other editor colleagues. More silence. To be honest, I thought it was a decent piece, although it's possible I'm being biased and the article wasn't to her liking. It seems far-fetched since she was so excited about the paragraph in the beginning. Neither did she reply or say, sorry, we didn't like it, so I don't want to assume wrongly. Anyways, my question is, instead of repeatedly asking, what's the status on my article, I should probably get her attention back by providing something else valuable to them. Do you have some recommendations of what I can provide them, along with how to make it high quality? I hate chasing women, he says. I hate chasing women, my dude. Then he says, another reply from a different magazine. I agree with you. You did a good job on the article by keeping it non-promotional. But we have member companies and advertisers who might also like to write articles, so it's hard for me to open the door to it. I'll give it more thought, but I'm out of the office the next 3 days. Looks like I need to figure out a way to convince them to accept. All right. So I'm going to give you a little bit of harsh news, my man. So chances are that they just didn't like your fucking article. And if I had to guess why, by the way, the number one reason why they end up not liking it is because it's not about an outcome their audience would want and guiding them through the process. It's about a process or a tool or a system that you have an affinity to. So I'm going to pull up something on my phone because I think this will answer it better than I can. Let me just pull this. I just got a message from Jeremy like right before I went through on this live, and he just published his stuff in a magazine of all places in the accounting space. And he said, checkout page. So shout out to Jeremy. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's like tiny print of his article. So I'll read it to you guys. It says, how to attract more recurring client advisory service, CAS clients with SEO. Okay, so Jeremy obviously does SEO. Obviously, like that's the whole point of writing the article, is to lead people into his SEO service. Like he ain't doing this for charity. But you'll notice the actual article is about an outcome that they want. In their case, getting more of the recurrent client advisory services. So for people who are like accounting, for those of you guys who don't know the space, because Jeremy and I had some private talks, accountants can get a lot of like tax returns, right? Like, but tax returns tend to be one-off clients. They come all at once at the within 2 weeks of the tax deadline. It's a lot of work. It's low margin work. It's really, really busy. And so what they really, really want are more of the like recurring people, the businesses that pay them month after month to do their bookkeeping, to audit them, etc. I'm not an accountant, but you get the gist of it. So Jeremy has made his article about that specific outcome, and almost as an afterthought is with SEO. Now, almost always, if I look at agency owners, the order of those things are reversed. It's all about SEO, and we'll get into number one in Google and things they don't really care about, right? So chances are your article is just probably about something that like it may be a meaningful process to you, but you have to translate that meaningful process to an outcome that matters to them. So if you think about in Jeremy's cases, do you think they care more about his process, SEO, or do you think they care more about getting recurring people to pay their damn accounting fees? Right? Clearly, it's recurring people paying their accounting fees. So that's the first thing is like chances are if the article missed the point, it's almost always because you're talking about the hammer and your process and your thing, and they just don't give a fuck. They just don't give a fuck. I see Jacob's got a question. We'll come to that in just a minute, Jacob. So that's the first thing is you probably just missed the mark, and it's okay, by the way, you get endless opportunities. Now, the how to follow up with these people, that is a whole separate discussion. But I'll tell you in general, the way most people do follow up is not conducive to getting anywhere. And the way most people do follow up is basically like this. So, what do you think, right? And this is not just follow up for a magazine article. I get this all the time where people, they'll send a proposal to somebody, and then they're hoping that client will say, all right, let's fucking do it. And then instead they don't hear from them for a week, and they go, so, what do you think? What do you think? So the worst way to do follow-up is to go, so, what do you think, right? And I'll tell you, there's a whole art to following up with power, but I'll tell you, especially with big industry heavy hitters, for those of you guys who aren't familiar with the methodology kind of Basil's working on, is we have people, by the way, doing $1 million plus with one partner, right? So like this industry magazine, like they know everybody, their shit gets read by everybody, and like, you know, they probably have conferences and speak on stage. So like a stepping stone to getting in with a magazine is a great place to begin. So when you follow up with them, instead of thinking about like how do I get them to do what I want, think about it more as how do I give more to their mission, right? Because you always have to serve their mission first. And so like for me, like if I'm following up with an industry magazine, I might like, hey, while we're waiting on this article, I had like 2-3 other ideas that I wanted to send you that I think would help you do blank. And hey, by the way, I noticed you got your LinkedIn profile, but you haven't like optimized it, so I wrote you a new LinkedIn profile or whatever, right? Like you want to think, or like, hey, I noticed like you guys are posting stuff on YouTube, but the thumbnails aren't really that good, so I made you a template so you can use to make better thumbnails on your YouTube shit. So in general, you want to think about that, and the easiest thing to give is further ideas. Is like you start selling a vision of the tomorrow, and I'll tell you what kind of stops smart people, like intelligent people, is that it comes across too fucking logical, and it needs to be more just like I'm excited about like, hey, we can show all these guys how to get more of the recurring accounting stuff, and you know what else we could do? I think it'd be really, really cool to do like a free training for your people about blah blah blah, right? Or I think it'd be really, really awesome. I notice you guys are having this event here. I would like to help you sell your event, like blah blah blah. Or I wrote some social media posts, whatever. You can do that in AI, and by the way, like 2 minutes. So whenever you want to follow up and do it with power, think about what else you could give that would be complementary, but ideally something that's easy for you to actually put together. Something that takes you less than 5 minutes to actually do and is valuable to them. There's no kind of one size fits all, but if that partner is worth potentially $1 million to you, isn't that worth investing 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there? Sometimes like breaking through with industry associations can take like 6 months depending on the industry. Often they're not that hard if you know how they're structured, but here's the honest to God's truth that you may not like. They need magazine content right now. And if they ain't publishing it, they didn't like it that much. And that's totally okay. So like, for example, sometimes I'll pitch a podcast and I'm just so used to now that like when I pitch them, like it works the first time. So I'm a little bit shocked when I have to go back. So like as a matter of practicality, when they don't automatically roll with my first idea, I assume that the reason they said no is because they didn't like the show idea, and I repitch them again on a new show idea and think, hey, this would be really cool. But there's a deeper idea is you have to look at what they're doing and be useful to their audience and their mission, right? So like in the case of like, accounting, right? Like what is it their audience is trying to do? Well, they're trying to grow their accounting firms. They're trying to get certain kinds of business. They're trying to build reputations in their industry, right? So I want to help them do those things first. And this is a thing that trips people up, and I'm not saying this trips you up, but I expect to be paid on step 2 or step 3 of that, not on step 1. And so like the way I internalize that is really, really simple. Is I give away the ideas for free and I charge for the implementation. So I would show, for example, in Jeremy's case, I would show these guys how to get to number 1 in Google for all the kind of keywords they want to get in front of for free without me. And then knowing that most accountants don't want to implement that. So chances are if your article missed the mark, almost always it's because it's about the hammer and you liked it, but it's not a meaningful thing that their members want. Remember, anytime you make them look good to their audience, they're going to roll with it. So they just probably don't feel like it's going to make them look good. And if you're not sure what that is, by the way, 2 things help. ChatGPT, 1. Like, say I'm trying to write to accounting. What are the struggles accountants have? Like, tell me all about their problems. Use your knowledge base to tell me about challenges and issues they're having. And begin by serving that audience first. And then the second thing is, my second favorite tool is go to Google and type Reddit. And then type in worst part about being a blank and like accounting or whatever. And what you'll find is there's these threads where they get upvoted and they'll tell you, man, I really hate tax returns. I really hate doing all this work at once. And so like having an article about like getting away from that low paying tax return work and moving towards the thing you actually want. Using SEO, again, that hammer is an afterthought, not the main thing about the article. Chances are they're going to roll with it, and you don't have to fight them so much on it. But if you just message them to go, so, what do you think? 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 You're not really going to get anywhere, and it's annoying to both you and them, as where you're, like, if you look at them, like, you really have to internalize that you're collaborating with them about what it is they're trying to do. And then what happens is you're like, hey, I had another cool idea. We could do this. We could do that, blah, blah, blah. And, like, really think about yourself as a partner to them, not as a, hey, I'm trying to get you to publish my magazine article. And you'll approach the whole thing in a different way, in a way that's more conducive to, like, actually getting what you want. And almost always, by the way, if you just serve their agenda on step 1, but do that in a way where it strategically leads to you and what you're doing, you're going to sell a lot of shit. Because they already have the audience. They already have all the buyers in your space. Jacob says, we have been doing free trials, but when is a good time to switch to running a client getting Facebook campaign on no trials, just paid clients? Was thinking of doing a guarantee, but not sure. I think any time is good once you like have the certainty that you can at least like move the needle for them, to be honest with you. So I think the magic of like, I'm seeing a lot of these free trials, and I believe Jeff is the one showing people, and I think it's a great way to like kind of just get some clients in the door, because the magic of it is you get to test building out a system on other people's dime. But at some point, you want to charge for it. And what I found is almost always, like, the struggle with selling Facebook ads is because the outcome that you're promising with the Facebook ads is either A, something else like a million other people are going to say, and I'll tell you the most common outcome people promise is the vague, what I would call the undefined more. Frankie Fihn's Moroporium. Come down to Frankie Fihn's Moroporium. We'll get you more sales and more leads and more customers and more patients and more leads and more sales and more. And I get pitched this on my YouTube channel all the time. It's kind of funny to me, where they're like, we'll get you more likes and more comments and more subscribers and more, just more fucking everything, right? And I'll tell you, that's a promise that maybe might have worked 10 years ago when it was new. It's so beaten to death, and it's not really codified. And so, like, if I show up and say, hey, like, we can run Facebook ads and get you a motorcycle case, or we run Facebook ads and get you a big commercial roofing job, whatever, depending on who it is you're talking to, that will immediately make it sexier. So chances are, if it's been hard to sell, it's almost always because it's literally just being positioned around the wrong problem. And the way you discover this is actually what I mentioned. I got a video for this on YouTube. You guys can watch it for free. It's called The Unfair Sales Advantage. And what I do is exactly what I just described, but it walks you through it. I go to Google, I type Reddit, and I go, what is the worst part about being a blank? And then I look at it. And like in the example, I remember doing it for dentists. And dentists said 2 things. They said, like, patients think they have no overhead costs. Like, so if I charge you $150, I automatically made $150. And the truth is, like, after insurance and staff and keeping the lights on in the building, whatever, like, I made nothing, right? That's the first thing. And then the second thing they complain about were certain types of patients. You know, getting this hefty elderly patient who complains that you're hurting my mouth, doc, I would have been finished. Your neck and back hurts. Your hair's all over the place. And it's a whole drama, and they hate the dentist, and they're in pain, and your take-home for it is like $25. So you're not in that scenario, right? Like if you ran Facebook ads, if you said, hey, we can get you away from that low-paying, elderly, hefty patient who's got no money and you make $25 for your neck and back to hurt, and instead get you this kind of patient, which is a more high value, high desirable, whatever, using Facebook ads, they probably would sign up right now today. So to me, like, I would just play with outcomes. And the cool thing about having free trials is you can ask people directly. You can ask them and say, like, would be my next move. And just say, like, what are the kind of patients, clients, customers, whatever terminology they use in your industry, what are the ones you wish you had more of, and what are the ones you wish you had less of? And almost always just aiming your Facebook ads at a specific type of person they're trying to get becomes more desirable. Because a lot of people don't think about this, but like using the dentist example, a dentist, for example, if you've ever been a dentist, because my mom worked at a dentist office 23 years, she wasn't a dentist, she was like receptionist / dental assistant. But like it hurts your neck and back because you're bent over people's mouths all day long and you're like working on really tiny shit. And people hate you. People hate the fucking dentist, right? So if you're not making any money because of all your overhead costs and you're doing that, like, yeah, when somebody comes in and says, I'll get you more leads and more sales and more customers, right? Like you probably want the more money component of that, but you don't want the more work and the more effort and the more neck pain, the more back pain and more people who hate you, right? So that there's conflict in that. Right? Like it's not just about more money the entirety of your offer. It's also about like the time element, the ease element, the amount of energy that has to be expended in that. And so almost always what happens is they're getting a certain type of low value person that's eating up all their time and energy. And it's almost always because they don't position for work on purpose. Like if you wanted to be known as the commercial roofer, here's how you do it. You tell everybody, you put on your business card, commercial roofing. You change your website to say commercial roofing. You rank for commercial roofing keywords. You get all your testimonials about commercial roofing. You show pictures on your website of commercial roofing. But that's not what most people in most industries do. They mostly just say, Jacob's Roofing, we do blank, blank, and blank, call now. We do a little bit of everything, call now. And then they're surprised when they get a little bit of everything. And so your job is to help them sift through what's important and then figure out how to make Facebook ads create what they want. And almost always you'll be able to sell it without a free trial because it's inherently what they want, right? Like if you can demonstrate that it's true and it's inherently what they want, like I said, the first place I would go to is the people you're actually running trials for now to say like, hey, if we could get you, like who are the people you wish you had less of? Who are the ones you wish you had more of? That's your ad, by the way. Hey, we're going to help you get less of those people and more of these people using Facebook ads. And by the way, the best promise you can make as a first date offer, in my opinion, is one of something. Right? So a lot of times people think you got to make these giant pie-in-the-sky promises, but like, hey, I'll just bring you one motorcycle case. I'll bring you one commercial roofing person. I'll bring you in the next 90 days or however long it takes you to do it. And almost always that will make your promise sexy and believable, right? Like, because like one is a believable number. Like, I'm going to make you an extra, we're going to get you more leads and more sales and like, yeah, we're just going to blow your shit straight up is sometimes true, but often not believable. But like, hey, I can get you one of something meaningful, like that alone. And so like the lawyer equivalent of it, what I found with working with attorneys, they get a lot of small cases. They're a lot of work. Mostly because of the bureaucracy, right? Like they got to go to court, they got to file, they got to stand in line, they got to get a number, they got to register this and register that. The bigger cases have the same bureaucracy, and there's a little bit more required on the case. But like $100,000 case isn't really a lot more work than $25,000 cases. And all things being equal, like if you could get $100,000 case or $25,000 cases, you'd way rather have the one big one because there's just so many less moving pieces, and you actually have some margin. You can afford to pay staff, you can afford to help people. And so like, you know, hey, I'll get you a $100,000 case using Facebook ads is like immediately a sexier promise. And the key is the specifics about what makes that desirable person for them. So I hope that helps you, my dude, because you're probably sitting on gold in the form of what you got in your free trials, and it's just a matter of like now bringing that to the forefront. And a lot of times, you know, if you can also add like a proof element where you can show people like, hey, I've actually ran these kind of ads and generated this kind of result, that'll work better, but it's not entirely necessary either if you haven't. But like, I think you can go straight to selling it right now is the point of that rant. So I hope that's helpful. Our man Kath says, what would be a good first aid offer for a plastic surgeon? So I always have 3 offers that I believe in running, just so you guys know. And I learned this from, mentor Travis Sago, but it's coffee date, first date, and marriage. So marriage is the obvious one. That's like the recurring part of your service, right? That's the marriage is the part where like they pay you month after month and they like what they're doing. Like that's the easy one to figure out for most people. The first date and the coffee date are the ones that are a little bit more tricky. So a first date is the first time you guys do some paid shit together. And a coffee date is where they can simply inquire and find out more about you. Right? And this, by the way, this has not changed in 100 years. This used to be true in direct mail, right? Like, call a free 1-800 number and get some more information. That's a coffee date. Or sign up here and we'll mail you a free report. What's a free report? It's a coffee date, right? And so the first date to me is the first paid engagement that you guys do together. And I think it's extremely important, regardless, whatever you pick, is that it's an add-on and not a replacement. And so what I mean with an add-on and not a replacement is an add-on is something that like does not require them to fire somebody. This is the ultimate litmus test of a replacement offer. So if I come in the door and tell you like, hey, we do SEO, and they say, well, we got an SEO guy, and I'm like, fuck him, fire him, I'll do a way better job. They have to fire somebody before they can hire me. You're just gonna run into conflict with trying to replace something they already have. So I always think about the first date more than anything else is like it has to be simple and easy to do and an add-on. I'll tell you what that was for us for many, many years, and it's going to sound so mind-numbingly stupid simple, and I'm reasonably certain you can run it today, is we'll create a mini website based on a specialty service. So like, for example, the big 3 that we probably did most often, I'm going to help you sell mommy makeovers, I'm going to help you sell facelifts, I'm going to help you sell nose jobs. For whatever reason, like at least when we did it, those are the big 3 things that we came across. And like, hey, we'll build you a little mini site. Why a mini site? Because you're not trying to replace their existing website. You're trying to say, let me build a complementary piece to help you spell or sell more of your specialty service. But then what happens is it's a way to get your foot in the door. It's also a way to find out if that doctor or that surgeon is a real fucking pain in the ass. Like, you'd way rather find that out in a first date and like just do one little week-long website project and never talk to them again. So it's just as much to your benefit. Whatever you do, it doesn't really matter. You always want to do an add-on instead of a first date. So sometimes, like for example, when I approach partners for like revenue share deals, I'll ask to be their direct mail person. Why do I say, hey, let me run a direct mail campaign to sell your ABC thing? Why do I say direct mail? Like, why do I go there first? Well, it's because it's an add-on, because I know they're not doing direct mail. If I say, hey, let me send emails, they'll say, well, we're already sending emails. Now I got to convince them, well, replace me with your current email person. But if I say, hey, let me do some direct mail and I'll just sell it like an affiliate or a partner, they're like, all right, man, that sounds like my kind of jam. So I say that to you guys because whatever you do as a first date is going to work better if it's an add-on. And by the way, sometimes the difference between add-on and replacement is 10-degree shift. So like when we ran Facebook ads for motorcycle cases, they would say to us, hey, we're already running Facebook ads. Like now we got a Facebook ads guy. And I'd say, well, is he or she focused on generating motorcycle cases, or are they just focusing on like, you know, the general motor vehicle accident? And they say, I think just the general motor vehicle accident. I go, well, that's fine. Like we can work in the same account. They'll run the motor vehicle stuff. We'll just go after the motorcycle cases. Like it's no big deal on our end. Oh, okay. And essentially what I'm saying is this adds on. This is complementary. This bolts on. This is a complementary piece. So whatever you create, like the best place to figure out how to add on is to look at what they're already doing and then go, what else is complementary to this? So for example, if they already made a bunch of great videos on YouTube and you come in and say, let me repost those videos on TikTok, you're going to be an add-on, right? If you come in and say, I'm better than your YouTube guy, you're going to be a replacement. So whatever you do, like that's the place I start, is look at what they're doing and then seeing based on my skill set, how can I be an add-on to them? And it just opens the door really quickly. And ideally, to help them sell their most expensive thing, they're just going to, you know, add-ons that help them sell their most expensive thing usually just open the door pretty easily. Anonymous. Anytime you guys post anonymously, I assume that you got no pants on. So shit is getting real. I don't think you guys want me to stand up and find out if I really got the dad shorts on or if we're doing this pantsless. So Anonymous says, hey, I'm exploring the idea of earning passive income through affiliate marketing by publishing articles in major magazines and blogs. Has anyone had experience with this strategy? How effective is it? And do you have any tips for getting started or maximizing results? Thanks. So Anonymous, so I'll give you a little bit of book two. Book two, by the way, is essentially finished. Chris says pants off, not Anonymous, totally. Dude, you crack me up. So this is going to be the subject of book two, which is basically done. I'm just waiting for some like real heavy hitters. They're writing endorsements for it, and it's worth waiting for their endorsements if you understand the names I'm waiting on. But I'll give you some of the insights into the ideas in the book. So I have a belief that distribution is more valuable than money. So almost always when people like go to sell their thing or generate income, they first pursue, how do I get in front of somebody to sell it to? And I have a belief, especially there's a special kind of distribution. In other words, an audience, that pursuing audiences or audience owners is more value than pursuing stuff directly. And that is buying audiences that are proven to spend money on certain things. So I'll give you two real-life examples of this so you guys understand where this belief came from. Back in the day, pre-COVID, I used to do a lot of speaking in the legal industry, so I'd go to like different conferences every weekend or every second, third weekend, whatever, and I would go speak. And whenever I would walk off stage at an event, typically I would sign 5, 10, 15, sometimes even like 20 clients. Right, so if there's 1,000 people in the audience, you could add 20, 30 grand a month recurring in 1 hour's worth of work, which is not a bad day at the office in general. That's more than most people make in a year in an hour. Obviously, you got to polish it. Now, I wish I could tell you that it's because Frankie Fihn is such a dynamic and charming and handsome speaker, clearly. But the truth is, you know who else signed 5, 10, 15, 20 clients after they walked off stage? Everybody. Like, they weren't just speaking for the good of their health. They were speaking to go sign clients and generate business, right? And almost always what happened is it's a buying audience. Like, conferences are by and large not free. Like the ones in legal, they start at like $1,000. You also got to book rooms, you got to book hotels and flights and pay for meals. Like, you're only doing that if you're serious about spending money. And so you get in front of 1,000 of those people all spending money all at once. Right? Well, the gateway to all of that is there's always one conference owner that puts on the whole thing. And so what most people try and do is they try and generate the money one-to-one, and I believe try and generate the distribution, get in front of the buying audience. I had a second example to give you guys. Oh, second example. Okay, so I got an email list. I'm a little micro influencer on the internet. I'm nobody special in the grand scheme of things, but I do have an audience. And I'll tell you, if I send an email and I make an offer, money appears on the other side of that. Almost like, I wouldn't say 100 times out of 100, but like 98 times out of 100, right? And the reason is because I control that distribution, right? Like, I have that audience, and I say that, like, I don't want you guys to think about like you guys are just, distribution. You guys are all fucking cool ass people. But nonetheless, like, I'm a source of distribution. I have control of a buying audience. And a lot of people got into my audience, by the way, by buying a book, right? Buying, right? So it's a buying audience. Paid for a book, right? That one. So I say this to you guys because, and this is not just one time. So what I realized is you could go to a conference, speak, sign 5, 10 clients, and then you could go to like the same conference would have another event like 3 months later, and you could go speak again and get another 5, 10 clients. And you could do it again and get another 5, 10, 15 clients, and do it again and again, because distribution is for people who have like unending needs, right? Like, every time you solve a problem in business, it creates a new need. So the formula is very, very simple for creating passive income. Now, simple does not mean easy. I'm not telling you this is easy. There's like, you have to negotiate intelligently, but it is combining a buying audience, what I would call distribution, with B, with a recurring offer. And so we're playing with all kinds of different variations of this right now, but we're simply combining distribution, other people's audiences, with recurring offers. So like, for example, like, we have some finance related stuff where we're offering that audience software and tools that make their life easier. And we went and negotiated special deals on those software and tools. And so we're simply combining somebody else's audience with somebody else's product and putting them together. And you would think, why don't they just do that themselves? Why don't they just do that themselves? And the answer is because they can't. I used to see this in real estate, like, I still see it, I should say. Real estate wholesaling, like when you go to wholesale real estate, there's usually two people you're connecting. You're the middleman. There's a buyer, meaning somebody who actually wants to buy a house. Usually this is like a mixed Mr. Fix and flip it kind of person. So they're looking for a house they can bang up, clean up, make brand new and renovate and then go sell for a profit. And then there's a seller, a person who's got a home that I usually don't want. It's run down and there's problems with it and they can't easily sell it on the open market. And you're the middleman. And you would think, why don't those people just talk to each other, right? Like, why do they need you as a middleman? They don't know how to market themselves, right? The person with a home for sale has no idea that if you post ads on the internet and tell people you got a home for sale and take lots of pictures and do that, like, you're probably going to sell your home. Like, they don't know that. And the person who's like the Mr. Fix-It, they don't understand that if you advertise to a bunch of homeowners and let them know you're looking for a fix and flip, that you'll probably make some deals. For the most part, the Mr. Fix and Flip guy just wants to swing a hammer and the person selling the house just wants to be done with it. And because you know how to advertise, there's room for you in the middle. Well, it's the same thing with audiences and offers. There are people right now that run cooking channels that got 1 million people watching it. And there's people who sell cooking related tools and products and things like that. And they, in theory, should talk to each other, but do not, unless you go and negotiate those deals. So if I was going to put together passive income deals to make this really, really simple for you, pursue distribution first. Don't try and go, what most people try and do is, what could I sell? But find the buying audience and then figure out what their needs are and then bring in tools and products and resources that already solve those problems. But start with the audience first. Go after the audience. And you would be amazed that there's people who've built 3.5 million person audiences that either A, don't know what to do with it, or B, know what to do with it and just don't have the time to put it together, right? And so that all of that is a passive income opportunity, right? Like, and sometimes that building that 3.5 million person audience may have taken 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears and trying stuff and putting stuff out there. But to me, I look at it as like an American football field where they've ran the ball and 99 yards up the field and they stop 1 yard short of the goal line, and the missing 1 yard on the field is they just don't make enough offers. They don't make enough offers, and a lot of times they don't even like selling. They don't like putting their stuff out there. They view offer making and selling as bad and icky, and for a lot of people it is because they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to like actually make their offers valuable to people and do it in a way where it's not like this sleazy buy my shit kind of stuff. So if you want to put those deals together, like Distribution 101. If anybody is interested, by the way, I'm happy to give you guys a free like PDF copy of the book right now, which is, like I said, mostly finished, just waiting on some killer endorsements. But I'm happy to let you guys read it in the time for those of you guys who are interested in putting that. But when you combine distribution and a hungry audience with recurring offers, what happens in the middle of that is recurring cash for you. Josh says, how do you find new clients? I did a whole webinar on this. But I believe the way most people get new clients is backwards. And what I mean by that is they ask the wrong starting question. So the wrong starting question is like some combination of like, how can I sell my thing? Or what do I need to say to get people to buy it? Or what sort of script do I need to use? Or what sort of message? And if you start with that question, you'll make the whole buying journey about you. And I'll give you guys a shortcut on that. It ain't about you at all. So I learned this from an investor named Jim Straw, who made about $500 million in the 1950s and 60s. He'd be a billionaire by today's standards. And one of the things he said is that the most important thing you should start with is finding the buyers. Who buys it? Who spends money on it? So if you're like trying to sell dentists, instead of thinking about how do I sell dentists, what most people do, as best I can tell, is they imagine 100 dentists and they're all created equal. But I promise, if you could get 100 dentists in a room, you would find that 80 of them do not buy marketing services at all and never will. Or if they do, they spend very tiny amounts of money on it. And yet there would be 15 or 20 of them who spend more than the rest of the room combined. And there would be 1 or 2 dentists that literally spend more money than everybody else in the room. So your job is not to me to try and figure out how do I sell my thing. It's to identify who's buying it. And I'll tell you who I think is a real master of this, Seth Price. they have an 8-figure plus kind of agency. I won't reveal the numbers, but let's just say Seth is balling. And I've watched him do this enough times in real life. This is their model, right? They go into the top conferences and events and stuff like that, and they make an offer to, like, for example, I've seen him do this where there'll be a mastermind of 15, 20 lawyers, and he'll say, hey, can I pay you some money, and I'll do a little private training for your people. It'll be all value and no pitch. And if they're interested, obviously they can hire me, but I won't like hard sell anybody ever. I'll just show them, like give them like lots of valuable information. And almost always they put him into that room. And why would you want to be in front of a room of like only 20 people, right? Why would you pay money to be in a room full of 20 people? Well, these are all the lawyers who spend more than $1 million a month on TV advertising and more. So I'll tell you why, because they're all the fucking biggest, not just buyers, but the biggest buyers. And so, in Seth's case, he's able to sell $10,000 a month plus SEO, right? Like most people are not getting $10,000 a month for SEO, and for them, they get it without any pushback because they're dealing with the top buyers in the space who want the best of the best, right? And obviously, if you're standing in front of the private training of the top people, like clearly you're the best, right? So, but that whole process started with identifying the buyers first. Like they paid all this money to be part of a private mastermind. Like, how do we know they're buying? How do we know they can spend money on stuff? Well, they just dropped, in that case, I believe like 15 grand on a mastermind, plus flights, hotels, tickets, and all that kind of stuff. So probably like 25, 30 grand when it's all said and done. They dropped 30 grand to be there. Like, that's how I know they're buyers, right? So I say that to you guys because I believe step one of selling your thing is identify the buyers. And then from there, there's really only like 3 ways I've ever found to sell the buyers. You either, A, you message them one-to-one. B, you run some paid ads to those people, and there's all kinds of variations of that. Or C, you put content in front of them and let them come to you. And I'm personally the biggest fan of using C and then using C to drive B. So like I believe create the content first and then use the content to drive your paid ads. And then you end up with these like really cool campaigns that just convert like gangbusters. That's how I like to do it. I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. But I believe a lot of you guys would make your lives easier by starting with the question, who's buying it? Because there's a whole market. There's money flow that existed long before you showed up. If you make it about you and trying to convince everyone, well, like what if you're talking to a dentist who for 30 years has grown through referrals and word of mouth and only has one location and is happy at one location, does not want to grow, does not spend money, they barely even have a fucking website, and it took them 25 years to get a website, and now you're trying to sell them Facebook ads? Well, good fucking luck with that. As where, like say you have a dentist who buys the best of everything, and if you got a new cool thing, they want to try that new cool tool, and they spend $250,000 a month, every month on advertisement, right? Like you're going to have a way easier time getting to a yes. So anyways, Matthew says, do we have any agencies using Filipino staff? This guy right here has been using Filipinos for almost 20 years. It's funny to me, actually, because in the last 3-4 years and all the COVID insanity, all these people started working from home. And what happened as a function of all these people working from home is businesses that I've been telling for like 10 years that you could hire Filipinos to do that are suddenly telling me, did you know you could hire Filipinos? And I laugh because I'm like, yeah, I know a thing or two about that. Now, I'm not going to say I have all of hiring figured out, and I think anybody who tells you they got all of hiring figured out is full of shit. But I'll tell you what's changed over the years is I have much higher batting averages. Meaning if I hire somebody now, the chances of that hire working out are usually like 80%. Now, that means if we hire 5 people, like 4 of them usually work out. I compare that to back in the day. If I hired 20 people, I was lucky if one of them worked out. And I used to think, it's all, people in this area are bad, no good, and whatever, and they just don't have the work ethic. And I'll tell you, it's almost always doesn't matter whether you're hiring local, domestic, South America, India, wherever. It's almost always your hiring and screening process is what you want to look at, because that's the thing you control the most. And if I could give you guys just one suggestion on this is what has helped us the most, is paid trial assignments, and paid trial assignments on the exact fucking thing that they're going to do for you full time. So I think I just had a conversation before this with my video editor. His name's Mark. Shout out to Mark if you're watching this. But anyways, how do you think I tested a video editor, like in the hiring process? I had them edit some videos, right? Like if that's the job they're going to actually do. Now, this sounds so like mind-numbingly simple, but most people have a hiring process that involves cover letters, resumes, job interviews. You get handed a position and you ask about editing videos. You talk about editing videos, but never in there do you actually work together on editing a video. And Perry Marshall's compared most people's hiring process to this. He said if you went to play for a new band and you got together, imagine that band said to you, hey, we're going to need to interview the last band you worked with, and can you send us 3 references of bands you played with and tell us a little bit about you? And that's how they screen for you. You would learn less than if you just got out the guitars and the drums and the microphones and started playing a song together and see how well you vibed or didn't vibe together. And so I'll tell you, now when I get 20, 30, 40 candidates or whatever for a thing, and sometimes we get like hundreds, I just put the details of a trial assignment into a Google Doc, and you get paid $5 or $10 to do the trial assignment. And I learn more about them doing the trial assignment. Little things like if there's a question I already answered and they ask me a question that I've already answered, that's a disqualifier, right? Or if they show me through their actions they clearly didn't read the instructions and they just rushed to get it done. Well, do you think they're going to be any better after they work together? The flip side of that is you'll get 2 or 3 of them that just send you the thing done exactly as you asked, and you're like, damn. And almost always those 2 or 3 people will work out because they just did the thing you want them to do. If you want them to play soccer, have them kick a ball. If you want them to make music, have them make music together. If you want them to edit videos, have them edit videos. If you want them to post social media content, have them post social media content. If you want them to buy media, have the motherfuckers buy some media, right? The same thing would be true, by the way, if I was hiring like a domestic ops manager or whatever, and you're talking about paying somebody $80,000 a year. Well, I'd give them like an example real life problem we're facing, and like maybe not necessarily actually email it out to a client or the team, but I'd like, how would you solve this? Like I'd give them real world shit, not random theoretical, tell me about your references. And I'll tell you, when you do that, you get way higher batting averages. The one piece that's hard to screen for, and I don't think you really can 100%, is like kind of just like people's kind of like work ethic. Because sometimes you just get people who like check all the boxes, they do all the right thing, but then they just like, I don't know, they're flaky, they don't show up, they call in sick and blah, blah, blah. Like they know how to do the work, but they're not motivated to do it. There's probably better ways to screen for it, but I'll tell you, if you focus on that, and then as far as where to get them, like where do you get good employees? Like, I don't know, I just get mine from Facebook groups with virtual assistants, onlinejobs.ph, and like write good ads and make yourself like the kind of company somebody would want to work for. Like talk about the benefits. So one of the benefits for me is like you get to work all your own hours. Like, and I'm not a look over your shoulder kind of boss. I'm a, hey, let's put it into project management, check everything, get it done, report to me that it's done. But you get to do that completely autonomously on your own time. And I do not need you 40 hours in front of a screen just to make me happy, right? Like, do what you need to do. So, but just get stuff done. But like if it takes you 10 hours in a week to finish it, then good for you. You get 30 bonus hours paid for being efficient, right? Like we're entrepreneurs here. I'm not here to keep you locked in front of a screen. But that's been the most helpful for us, is like go where they go, post good ads, trial assignment to weed people out, and like that alone will like dramatically upgrade most people's hiring process. And then hiring is no different than like signing clients. You still got to onboard them. You still got to set expectations. You still got to welcome them in style and make them feel like part of the family. Once I learned that hiring is the same process as like lead generation, I think you'll just be better at it in general. Christian says, how is anyone dealing with e-commerce websites lately? Which niches stand apart in the past 3 months or the last 12 months? Which niches to avoid as an agency owner when dealing with potential leads? Any tips and tricks for expanding an agency in the U.S. that's exclusively dealing with e-commerce stores? We are trying to gather all possible info about the U.S. market as we plan to expand there soon. All right, Christian, I'm gonna give you something that I think may be useful. Is a lot of times people ask this question and assume that there are some niches that just crush it in other niches where nobody is making any money. And the truth is, if there is a niche at all, somebody somewhere is getting paid, and almost always there's a spectrum within every industry. So I say that to you because I think it's a unhelpful assumption to assume that certain niches have a lot of cash and will work out and others won't. And so, like, if I look at two niches I've been part of a lot of, like plastic surgery and personal injury lawyers. There are personal injury lawyers, like friends of mine, that spend $25 million a year just on TV ads. So they spend more than $2 million per month every day on advertising. They're spending like 10 grand a day on paid ads just in one form. And there are personal injury lawyers that are broke trying to sign their first 2-3 clients, right? And there are plastic surgeons that are crushing it and have like 10 locations. In fact, I've had some clients that were like celebrities. They were on like Dr. 90210, which is like a reality TV show, and they're all, they got a whole media swipe file and fans and audiences and stuff. I also met plastic surgeons who just started up and are broke. So if you start with the idea that e-commerce, that there are some niches that are just crushing it, here's the truth, is that it's a spectrum, right? Like if you just went in e-commerce and went to baby products, well, there's probably like 10, 20, 30, 40 people crushing it with baby products, and there's probably another 500 not doing so well, right? So the goal is not to try and find some super secret niche that got all the money. It's to identify the people within industries that you can add value and help, and identify the top 10 to 20% and work with those people. So I'll tell you the biggest giveaway right now with e-commerce, and it ain't that new, but like to help you sift and sort, is just to talk about issues they have with sales and fulfillment and scale, meaning they're already selling right now. So like, for example, I have e-commerce friends that spend $300,000 per day on Facebook ads. $300K a day on Facebook ads. Like, I think of some friends, they got some giant ass camping store. They're just like pumping a shit ton of money into it. Then I have friends who like started a little Etsy shop trying to sell their homemade candles, and they sold like maybe 2 candles in their entire fucking life, okay? All things being equal, if you are going to choose a client, choose the $300,000 per day camping store and not the I sold 2 candles Etsy shop. Why? Because it's really hard to multiply zeros. Even though they may be nice people, it makes for bad math. And so the litmus test is how successful actually they were before you walked in the door. Because if you're going to sell e-commerce, like, it works way better to scale and to start with stuff proven that people already want. So like, for example, I think of Robert Siegelquist, who's in our group here, one of the things Robert does is he helps e-commerce stores to sell more stuff on the back end. Dave Miz does something similar with email campaigns, so he helps them to sell more other stuff on the back end. And Dave's generated like hundreds of millions of dollars in sales of e-commerce stuff. Well, that only works if they're already selling a bunch of stuff on the front end, right? So by and large, if he's talking about let me use email to help you scale your store, scale is a word that only appeals to people that like are actually scaling for the most part, right? Like, especially if he talks to problems about people who've already sold a bunch of e-commerce. So he would speak to their issues, like the fact that at a certain spend on Facebook, maybe $1,000 a day or $100 a day, whatever it is they're spending, it becomes hard to be profitable anymore. And the only way to do that is to make more sales on the back end, because ads aren't getting cheaper. I don't know if you guys noticed, but ads aren't getting any cheaper. And so I say that to you because the goal is to speak to the people. So like, for example, if I have a friend who does, she helps people create stores on Amazon and stuff. And she found that a lot of people were just kind of dreaming about starting their Amazon store. So they had never sold a product, never done it before. And her stuff was about helping them to rank higher in the Amazon search. And so it didn't really work for people like that, because you got to have a store to rank, right? And so like, she would have to sell them, like, go start your store, go do that, and then we'll help you rank, right? And what she found is when she started talking about issues like, do you have too much inventory? Is your stuff not selling on Amazon? Now she's talking to people who are already on Amazon. It's a smaller segment of the market, but they have way more cash and way more ability to do something with it. And when she started focusing messaging on those people, she started speaking to the top 10% of the people. In other words, the trick is to talk to people who are already doing something versus people who want to do that thing, right? So in the first scenario, it's like, she talks about people, do you want to start an Amazon store? That's not somebody already doing an Amazon store. That's somebody who wants to do it. Are you already doing an Amazon store? Well, what happens when you're already doing it? You got inventory. You got to make the math work. You got to ship it. You got to get reviews on Amazon. You got to write your listing, right? Like when you talk about all of those things, now you're talking to somebody who's already doing it, right? So if you want to identify e-commerce stores, speak to the issues that come from a result of them doing things. And I'll tell you, if I was going to like this is an educated guess, but if I wanted to bet the farm on an educated guess, this is the educated guess, okay? Almost all of them scale using Facebook ads, and they're finding it's harder and harder to be profitable on Facebook ads. They're selling stuff but making no money. You can have a $1.2 million a year e-commerce store that you're lucky makes you 40, 50 grand profit when it's all said and done. And so the way to sell that is to, hey, I'm going to deliver some kind of profitability through my solution that you won't be able to find in Facebook ads. So I hope that's helpful to you guys, because I think too many people get way tripped up in like trying to choose some super secret niche instead of like, how do I identify the people who are the movers and shakers within the industry and forge meaningful partnerships and relationships with the people who are doing the shit, instead of like trying to find some super secret. Because what I see as like the agency, coach, guru, mentor, whatever the fuck you want to call me, I see a lot of people who get stuck on the choosing a niche question because they think if they get it wrong, they're going to be pigeonholed into something where everybody's broke. And the truth is, if you write the wrong messaging, you'll talk to broke people in e-commerce, you talk to broke dentists, right? Like it's identifying what makes the movers and shakers, and then writing your messaging around that. And what you'll find is, lo and behold, like if I, for example, in the personal injury space, if I talk to somebody who's not doing something, I might say, hey, do you need more clients? Do you need to get like more clients in the door? And that's somebody who, like, chances are has probably relied on referrals and word of mouth and all those kind of things. If I say, hey, are you finding that with the saturation of TV, that your TV cases are costing you more than $1,000 per science case, making it difficult to pay staff and filing fees and all those things? Well, we figured out using Frankie Fihn's ABC system how to get signed cases for $500 a piece. Like, I'm probably going to sign that person. Does the first ad, by the way, will get way more responses, but there'll be way more like broke people who, like, you feel like everyone in your niche is broke and nobody has any money, and I chose the wrong niche. Maybe I should go work with dentists, doctors, lawyers, butchers, candlestick makers, e-commerce, a different niche in e-commerce, SaaS companies, online coaches. Those are the ones who got the money. And then what happens is, if you speak to the TV lawyer, for example, you may not get as many responses in total, but when they show up, they'll say, hey, you're right, we're spending way more than $1,000 per signed case, and it's making it really, really hard to meet payroll and things like that because we're just paying too much to get a case in the door. I would love to explore some alternatives. We have a budget of $20,000 a month just for testing stuff. Can you make it work with $20,000 a month? And you're like, usually like, yeah, I can make it work with $20,000 a month, right? So it's all about like really hyper focusing on those buyers, movers and shakers within the space. And those are the people, by the way, who stay and pay for the long term. I wish I knew this, but I mentioned this before. I've seen like pretty much every Kitchen Nightmares episode from Gordon Ramsay. So for those of you guys who don't watch it, Gordon Ramsay goes into this restaurant that's struggling, and he often like yells at the owner and shit like that. And he has the most creative insults and name calling, like, you're fucking deluded twat. He says shit like that. And then at the end of it, he gives them a whole new menu, so he remakes all their food. He has a crew of people that renovate the entire restaurant, so they make it all brand new and look nice. Usually it's like old and dilapidated restaurants. And then sometimes he even brings in like a chef who will stay for a month or two to help them get on the right track. And what blew my mind is the failure rates. So what percentage of restaurants do you think that get Gordon Ramsay on Kitchen Nightmares are still in existence 1, 2, 3 years down the road? And the failure rates are 95%. And the comments are almost always the same. They say, oh, as soon as Gordon left, 4 days later, the owner went back to their same old sloppy, half-assed kind of ways. And this is, the guy who arguably is the best chef in the world. And he comes, and you also get like the media. Like people are going to come in just because Gordon Ramsay was here. Like you're going to get like a publicity boost. And those businesses still end up out of business in a year. And it showed me something that I've kind of knew to be true for a long time. But it's really simple. It's like your job is to help winners win more. You don't turn losers into winners. I wish I could like really articulate that for people, because I think too many people spend way too much time trying to turn losing businesses and save them, right? Like, hey, you got an Etsy store that sold 2 candles. Let me fucking help you scale the shit out of this, and I'll be the savior. And what you'll find is, like, people don't really want candles. The owner's got problems between the ears. They don't know how to sell stuff. Nobody really wants the product, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I really wish I knew it was more about helping winners win more. The personal injury lawyer who's already spending fucking $250,000 a month, they're already winning with or without you. But now you can help them win more, and you can help them solve problems and take issues off their plate. And those are the people who stay and pay the longest. In regards to your e-commerce question, like really hone in on a niche within it that you would like to fulfill on, and then focus on the people who are already winning there. And then, as I mentioned, there's only 3 ways you're ever going to get them that I know of anyway. You're going to message them one-to-one. You're going to put content in front of them that brings them to you. Or you're going to advertise to them directly and call them out in your ads. And I'm a big fan of using, actually, the truth is that those 3 things work best when they actually work together. When you're showing up in their inbox and they're seeing your content and you're advertising to them, when you become omnipresent to those people. But truth be told, most people are not looking for that level of commitment. They're just looking for what's the quickest way I can get them going. And I believe getting in front of them all at once as a buying audience and putting content in front of them is the fastest way for that. So that's all I got on the questions this week. Appreciate you guys. For those of you guys who missed the beginning, we're putting together some really badass tools behind the scene. This is just kind of a brag moment, but I want to make a lot of this agency stuff a lot easier for you guys. Not necessarily... my skill set is not necessarily on the fulfillment side and things like that, although we're bringing in resources to help with that. As you guys have seen, like we're doing more like systems talk, things like that, and tools to help you guys build SOPs and hiring and things like that. Like we got some cool stuff on that, but especially on the generating the business. I think if you can generate the business consistently, 70-80% of your issues will sort themselves over time, because you can always hire the best systems people, you can always hire the best talent and things like that. If you don't have the cash flow, it's just really not an option. And so I'm helping you guys to build some really cool, like sophisticated AI tools. And the idea is to really dramatically simplify the implementation of a lot of the stuff we've been talking about. So it like is close to click a button and you're 90% of the way there as humanly possible. I don't think we're like magic bullet. But like, for example, like we can identify people, create a custom tailored pitch to them, and have something valuable to share to their audience right now, today, like 90% done in 2 minutes. Like that to me is like pretty badass, because, Basil asked about, pitching a magazine. Like I can run a search on Perplexity, get a list of all the magazines, see everything they're already publishing, where the holes and the gaps in it, see the person who runs it, custom tailor pitch to the person who runs it, and generate 90% of the magazine article, and be done that in like 2-3 minutes. So like that's pretty impressive where we're bringing this to. And I believe it's a level of innovation that has not really been seen in our industry, although it's still, like, just being real with you guys, it's very much a work in progress. But anyways, like I'm really excited to build and share this with you guys, because it's just a way more efficient way than what everybody else is saying you have to do. Basically, everybody else says to grow an agency, you have to do 1 of 2 things. You got a digital door knock and send bazillion outreach messages, or you got to do Facebook ads, billboard style, where you run 1 ad trying to get them in the door. And problem with both of those is the outreach requires a massive amount of rejection, and Facebook ads, nobody really tells you this, but they, in my opinion at least, they work better for scale than they do for like first time trying to generate new clients. And so what happens is most people who run them just end up blowing through 10 grand trying to figure it out. There's ways to make them work faster, and usually like with campaigns and stuff like that. But I think you can publish your shit in a magazine in 10 minutes and be farther ahead than what most people do, or publish your stuff in a podcast, or get in front of the industry association, or do an expert interview, or do a podcast, like stuff like that, and get in front of a whole bunch of them at once and do it way faster. So appreciate you guys just bragging that we're building that. And obviously first we're rolling all that out to our mastermind folks. And that's all I got for you guys in this edition. Much love. Happy Monday. May the force be with you.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll also like my book on Amazon called Beyond the Agency Box, which you can also find by my name, Frankie Fihn, and it's got a lot of awesome reviews. And it really just goes deeper on a lot of things we're talking about, everything you need to grow and start a lifestyle agency, from the stages you'll go through to getting clients, to how to create winning offers, to high value deliverables, to wowing clients, to building teams, to building systems, and building a boring factory that's like a 7-figure money machine for you. So if you're interested, I put links for you in the video description, as well as it'll be in the pinned top comment below, and make sure to check those out.